Hey, what's up, party people? I'm not really sure if I can legally use that, but welcome to what I'm going to call Soil Cycling number 8. As you can see, we had a nice big turnout for a SMBA meetings, Shawnee Mountain Bike Association meeting, Thursday night at the Bike Surgeon. So there hasn't been an actual SMBA meeting in years. I think I went to the last one, and I definitely didn't bring a camera because I wasn't sure if that was something that we would even want recorded. But Gabe encouraged me to bring a camera. He said that there were people who actually were curious, couldn't make the meeting, but kind of wanted to know what was going on. So that's what this is recorded for. I really did not care too much about the video, and I wasn't going to like put a tripod up in the middle of the room or stand and just like be cinematographer for an hour and a half or 2 hours or however long this meeting lasts. So I just sat and kind of vaguely pointed the camera at whoever was talking. Occasionally the settings got messed up. So the video may look pretty bad. The audio is pretty decent. I think you can understand most speakers even from the other side of the room. I will say just a quick warning that there is a bit of negativity towards equestrian and horseback riders destroying trails. That is due to the history in the Shawnee of multiple times cyclists working on trails and improving them and then finding them torn up by horseback riders in the wet. So with all that being said, let's get started.
Welcome everybody, appreciate y'all coming. Anybody need a seat? Anybody want a seat? It's easier to get this. Understood. Okay. Very good. Thanks for coming to the SMBA meeting. Hoping this goes somewhere nice in the future. It's kind of a late evening. Anybody need seats, drinks, whatever, feel free. This is just going to be kind of an open session. We've got a few things to present, but this is going to be relatively informal. So with that, kind of hand it over to Sean.
All right, so just most people here, familiar faces, but if you don't know about SMBA, Shawnee Mountain Bike Association, been around a long time, depending on who you talk to. I don't know when it started, but I've been involved since 2008. So a lot of the core members are still involved that were here then. So basically, started out as just like 6 friends riding bikes, and then it progressed into more. So I don't know how many people we would call core members now, but I would say we probably have 30 SMBA people, you know, SMBA members, SMBA friends, whatever. It's been super informal the last several years, actually forever really. It was just friends to start with. It's kind of what it still is. We're wanting to move forward and make it a 501(c), so it's a legit not-for-profit organization. So the reason we're wanting to get everyone to sign in tonight is to get emails, contact info, so once we do get that, we can reach out. So we're not asking anybody to sign up to be a member or anything yet. So once that happens, we'll reach out to everybody, let everybody know what we've got done, and people can sign up to be members if they'd like. Future mountain bike activities, I mean, we're going to talk about a little bit of that here. We got some cool trail work happening over on this side of the forest. Glendale is the newest stuff over on the other side that's been had a lot of work put into that and turned into a designated mountain bike trail. And I mean, I guess we kind of want to increase awareness of mountain biking in the area. So Touch of Nature has done a great job of getting people over here involved. The Glendale trail system has brought a lot of new riders out too. A lot of the old trails are really rugged, hard to get new riders. People get overwhelmed and just give up on the super rugged horse trails. So with the Glendale and Touch of Nature on kind of opposite sides of the forest, it helps us reach out to more people. Getting a lot of people from Kentucky area comes up to Glendale. We do have some signage out there. The Forest Service has been a little slow on getting signage, but they do have it. So some of it is signed. I think actually most of it has signs. They're not every 100 feet, but there is enough signage you can find your way around. The map up there is online, so anyone can pull that up, download it. There's a lot of stuff on Strava and Trail Forks too. Touch of Nature is Trail Forks. I think it's on there. Glendale mostly is on there. So basically, wanted to raise awareness, get more people into mountain biking, young people, old people, doesn't matter. Anybody that wants to ride bikes can join the club, join the friends, go ride. Gabe, you want to talk about Glendale?
Yeah, sure. We are planning on having a race on the 27th. Registration, stuff like that is not up yet, but I guess since there's so many people here, what would be, people that have been there, any suggestions, improvements, stuff like that? Is there, it's an open forum in some ways. I know some people here have been there, but it is happening this year.
It's in April, right?
April 27th.
27th. So
More
You can
music.
move that tree right there at the top of like Ed's Run.
yeah, like,
If you can move that, I'd appreciate
but
it.
yeah, that's going on. It's a great way to invite people there. They'll be marked. You know, one good thing about races, Pat always says that, you know, you show up to a race, if it's a good race, it's marked, and you will, you know, not have to worry about anything. You just get to ride with friends and just go. But it's pretty much that race. It's been going for 2 years, and we hope to continue on with that and just share Glendale with the greater area.
Registration will probably open either the last week of February or the first week of March. With the Dirty South happening, there's a lot going on that week.
Yeah.
So it'd be right around that. Bill, Molly, what about Cedar, Kincaid?
Sure.
So,
Scroll down, I think I have some maps in there.
do you want to work that for me? I don't know
Assistant.
what you got. So there's been a lot of attention put to Cedar and Kincaid Lake on the end of the Forest Service. I can speak to that. So here, actually, yeah, sure. We'll start with Kincaid, I guess, because the map is up. Last winter, I laid out 10 miles of trail to be built, or basically there's funding to replace the existing trail, which after a couple of storms, you know, basically the trail from the Kreisenberry Dam out to this point on the lower right, it's still there. It's still in good shape. Mountain bikers have consistently kept that in good shape, with a lot of people in this room going and cutting trees out. But via a bunch of storms, you know, a couple storms in succession around 2008 to 2010, basically have rendered the vast majority of this trail impassable and out of use. So, and that is also due to just layout issues. So I went in, I worked via an agreement. You know, this is a three-way project between the Shawnee National Forest, Shawnee Mountain Bike Association, and Friends of the Shawnee. And so I got, as a SMBA member, they basically, SMBA is, it doesn't really matter what it looks like on paper, but I got paid to go lay out 10 miles of trail to replace what is there to, it's basically to the, it's from the dam
To the Hidden Lake.
to the Hidden Cove trailhead, which is, yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, over there. And then also relay out the descent from Buttermilk Hill down to the bottom. And so this is all using appropriate grade. You know, the big thing about complaints about the trails in the Shawnee is that they're just fall line trails, because none of them were ever really designed to begin with. They're all user-made trails, and what that means is a bunch of horses just followed each other or people, and then so they go straight up a hill, straight down a hill, straight up. So these follow, trail building best practices for climbing and descending and crossing drainages and etc. So we did that at Kincaid, and then at Cedar Lake, did you?
Yep.
At Cedar Lake,
Do you want that at all? or keep going?
Well, this is what you guys can pick apart this later, but this is basically what I laid out. The other one was currently existing.
Yeah.
You can go to the next one. And so this is a project. I used to work for Friends of the Shawnee, and so this was like 5 years ago. We paid a former Forest Service employee to lay out this section of trail, and basically now with COVID, all of this is basically funded by trickle-down COVID money to invest in outdoor recreation infrastructure. And so this project kind of sat on the shelf for about 4 or 5 years until now, and then currently this is a reroute of the river to river trail. So the blue line you can see is the old trail, and the red line is the new trail. And so you can see, if you are familiar with topo maps, you know the old trail basically goes straight down the hill and straight up the hill like we were talking about before. And the reroute not only follows best practices, but also, you know, goes out to the point, you know, before you're riding at Cedar Lake, but you didn't even know it because you couldn't see it. And so, you know, basically the trail that's being replaced it will be much higher quality and sustainable and, you know, just more enjoyable because it has good, beautiful views. And I can attest to that because I'm currently building it with Justin over there with a contractor Ray, and Ray is the machine operator who Ray and I and the other crew of folks, we were involved in the Touch of Nature. We built all the 10 miles at Touch of Nature, and so we kind of always wanted to get the crew back together, and then the Forest Service really liked the idea of having a local trail builder, and so it kind of, this funding came together, and we started in December, and we have completed 2 miles of this 4.5 mile segment, basically before we got frozen and rained out. And next week, I believe, we'll be starting up again, depending on.
What's your trail building company going to be called?
It's got some. It's whatever his, you know.
Sweet Baby Ray.
Sweet Baby Ray. I don't know. It's actually, you know, it's under his wife's name for bidding purposes. I don't know. It's some generic name.
Yeah.
But so once we finish this 4 miles, then we are moving to Kincaid to build the 10.5 miles that I laid out last year. And so, you know, collectively it'll be, you know, 15 miles of new trail. That is the other part about this. You know, the Forest Service, they can't just snap their fingers and build new trail. This all went through a review process. So the NEPA process, which, you know, it means that, you know, the archaeologist goes and look at it, the botanist goes and looks at it, the hydrologist goes and everybody goes and looks at it and says, we're okay, that this is where the trail is going to go. And it gives a chance for public comment and everything like that. So that all has happened. But part of that process, you know, all of the mountain biking in the Shawnee, as you know, may know or may not know, is in this like legal, formerly to Lake Glendale. It's all in this like legal gray area where it's all designated technically for hiker, biker, equestrian, hiker equestrian. And so all of these trails now officially at Cedar Lake and at Kincaid Lake, and I believe it's actually all of the trails at Cedar Lake and all of the trails at Kincaid Lake are now redesignated as hiker, biker, equestrian. And so that doesn't really change the fact that they don't, you know, in practice, the Forest Service, they don't really, for basically the last 30 years, there's been an understanding of like, we know everybody mountain bikes on there, we just haven't updated anything. So they're using these opportunities for new construction to do the redesignation process. They know that they have dragged their feet on that in the past, and they know that on Forest Service parcels in the entirety of the United States, like hiker, biker, equestrian, mixed-use trails are the norm rather than the exception. It's just nobody dealt with it when they should have dealt with it here, and so it's kind of a slow process of turning that over. So
Can you talk to the Glendale designation?
yeah, so the Glendale designation was so that was a partnership project between SMBA and the Forest Service, and basically Matt, correct me if I'm wrong on any of these details, it was a few years ago, but basically they were like, hey, we know you guys got trails out there. So Glendale initially, and this is especially where Matt, you can, is basically, you know, for colloquially speaking, you know, rogue trails, user-made trails built by mountain bikers. And as far as the history of that goes, it was a little bit before my time, but basically the Forest Service came to us and said, hey, we know you got all these trails there, and we actually want mountain bikes, and we want a place for you guys. And we think that this would be a really good spot to do it because you guys, we've known about it a long time, and we seem to see that you guys can manage yourselves appropriately, and you don't tear stuff up and you take care of your own stuff. And additionally, none of those trails really connect to any other major equestrian use areas. So the Forest Service, you know, they got a lot of user groups to answer to. And so the appealing thing about Glendale was that, hey, you built this, it's off on its own, this would be a great place to start. And so we worked with them to, you know, basically we gave them, you know, GPS of all the trails that were out there, and they went in and surveyed it and went through the designation process, and that all went through that same NEPA process we talked about before.
But it is hiker-biker.
It is hiker, so excuse me, so that is the only, that area is hiker-biker, not hiker-biker equestrian. Which that NEPA process that we talked about that provides for public input, that public input is essential. You know, a lot of people don't like the government and like the way it works, but the thing about the Forest Service is it moves exceptionally slow, and there are lots of steps in the process to give your feedback. And so whether you love it or hate it, the reason there are no horses at Glendale is because of that public comment period where we were able to write in and do that. So like, you know, it's the Forest Service is a big ship that turns very slowly, but if you know, the kind of what we have adopted, SMBA has adopted is, you know, we make it easy for the Forest Service to partner with us, and, you know, as soon as they start leaning on you a little bit, they lean on you more, because if you're a little bit easier to work with than maybe some of the other user groups, I feel like everybody knows what I'm talking about, then, you know, if you have an infinite amount of work to do, that's basically the position that the Forest Service is in. There's 285,000 acres and 400 plus miles of trail in the Shawnee. You can throw a dart on the map and there's like millions of dollars of work that needs to be done in the Shawnee. So if we're easy to work with, they're going to want to work with us, and that's kind of basically the only reason why, not the only reason, but that's some of the reasons why this work is getting done. And, you know, via private conversations I've had with the Forest Service, they want to put more energy into these areas, specifically Cedar Lake. And so I will turn it over to Molly, because this isn't the only work that's in the plan at Cedar Lake.
Okay, I had a question about this real quick actually. Is there a plan for once the trail's open and they allow mountain bikers, equestrians, and hikers, is there a plan to keep them better maintained or like enforce the rules of not riding on wet trails and stuff? Like,
So the Forest Service, other than a few LEO officers, do not have very great enforcement mechanisms. And so, bikers are pretty good at self-policing. Like, we all know when it's a little too wet and you go ride and you see your tracks and everybody feels guilty because I mean, it's just not good. Equestrians are not the same way. We don't need to have a conversation about that. But what I would encourage is when these trails are done, everybody in this room should try to use them heavily because that's really
The more bikes on a trail, the less horses are gonna ride it, because the people on bikes don't wanna meet, or people on horses don't wanna meet bikes. So if there's always bikes out there when they go, they're gonna go somewhere else. And that's what we found at Glendale. When it first got designated for bikes and hikers only, we were still seeing horses every now and then. And after the first probably year of it, and no more horse. There's like a horse every 6 or 8 months will pass through Glendale.
But beyond that too, you need rubber on the trails to better keep it.
And I will say that this is another essential reason why SMBA needs to grow is because the Forest Service, they have some money right now to rebuild. The Shawnee, they're trying to grab all of the money that's available to reinvest in our area. But that doesn't mean it comes with money to maintain it. And they are getting told from the top down, from the highest level of the Forest Service, you need to partner with local organizations to help you maintain it. And, I really would rather that our tax dollars just get used to pay real people for real jobs to maintain our stuff. But the flip side of that is that if they have to lean on us to maintain the trails, then they are going to take care of our needs. And so once we have this stuff at Cedar and Kincaid, we are going to have to expand our stewardship efforts. And I will say, this is a replacement of the River to River Trail. And the River to River Trail will always have equestrians on it. It will always be a multi-use trail. So this part of the trail at Cedar Lake will always have horses on it. And that's just the way it is. I will say the worst, working here and replacing the trail that's out there, the worst places that you imagine all of that horse damage are places that break the rules of basic trail building. They are fall line trails, and so my biggest hope is that the trail we're replacing it with is designed appropriately to be able to handle all kinds of users. And so I will say this trail it should not end up in like the worst kind of case conditions that a lot of the other trails end up in. So
when this gets opened, how will we know?
This, honestly, it'll just kind of depend on the weather. Honestly, I just want to keep horses off of it as long as possible. We've had,
until it's lit.
Yeah, I mean, we have had, we worked for 3 days, and in 3 days the first 3 days we worked, we got a lot done, and we had neglected to put a trail closed sign and then sure enough there was a horse that walked through it and punched holes in the whole thing.
So it rained Saturday and Sunday, and then they came through either Sunday
It was Sunday, yeah.
Is there signage telling them that it's no horses?
Yeah.
There wasn't anything saying it was closed yet. There is now.
Yeah.
But yeah, and they only went one way. One horse went one way. But a lot of these potholes, like coastals, 3-4 inches, the horse was sliding.
It's very
sliding So there's a lot of that. So then it's how do we get horseback riders to start riding mountain bikes?
I feel like that.
We got one. We have one.
I know.
But basically, if the ground is really firm and the trails that touch are like really good, you know, regardless of what the sign says, this is between us and the people in this room. You know, go ride it and check it out. If the trails are in, if you feel like it's very dry out, probably, you know, what I'm going to suggest to the Forest Service is they probably shouldn't open this up till like the end of May, because they said they wanted to open it up at the end of March. I feel like there's a very good chance that it could be if they just send a bunch of horses on it at the end of March, it's a very high likelihood that it's gonna mess a lot of stuff up. You know, we compact the trail and do what we can, but you know, the freeze thaw, it's a brand new trail, and really what it needs to do is it needs to spend a season sitting and baking and being used when it's not in a sensitive condition.
And
What's up?
Just have an open party, bring everybody out,
Yeah.
brought the hell out of it.
Yeah, whenever it's, yeah, we should, I mean, it's really cool. I mean,
And then near the Lurley Trailhead, there is a business that operates guiding trail rides on horses.
So we should park at that side.
So that's like heavy use there is really valuable to be like, we wanna be at least half, right?
yeah,
So park on the east side,
yeah.
so that every time somebody on a horse goes to ride, they see 7 vehicles with bike racks when they go into the woods.
In Robin Cemetery, is that where you guys park across the street? Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
And I will say that I like this few weeks that we've been out of work. I am continuing past this 4.5 mile section. I am continuing basically the overall goal, which Molly is going to speak to, and this is kind of a mutual goal between Carbondale and the Shawnee, because Carbondale basically owns the north half of Cedar Lake, and the Forest Service owns the south half. Is eventually, I think all parties want a trail that goes all the way around the whole thing. And so what the Forest Service would like me to focus on in laying out more trail is basically cleaning up. They also, you know, Carbondale got a RTP grant, which I'll let Molly talk about, but basically the Forest Service goal is once Carbondale builds their trails, they don't want, you know, they want a nice shiny new thing. They want the whole experience to be good and not just, you know, the Carbondale part's good and then it gets, so I'm working on connecting with some new trail, the end of this trail, basically to Boat Dock Road, where the Cove Hollow trail starts, and then I will suggest some micro changes on the Cove Hollow trail. I'm not trying to, you know, it's one of my favorite trails. I love it how it is, but there are some sections that are just dumb, and doesn't involve technical riding, but it has more to do with like fall line trails.
I don't think so.
And it could just improve the quality of the trail. So, and what I'm going to suggest to the Forest Service is instead of machine building that Cove Hollow part, is that Simba, we try to get an effort together to do some hand building on basically the micro edits of the Cove Hollow, you know, the micro smaller reroutes to get that. So I think overall, within the next, you know, few years, we could see almost a massive amount of trail that's mountain bike friendly at Cedar Lake and Kincaid Lake. So
There's over 30 miles of shoreline in Cedar Lake.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
Molly.
Yeah.
Alright.
Hey, you just sit down.
Hi everybody, my name is Molly Maxwell. For those of y'all that don't know me, I work with the city of Carbondale. Hey. And as Philip has talked about a little bit, we are, just to give you a little background on Cedar Lake, I'm sure most of you all are more than familiar with this, but for those of y'all that aren't, Cedar Lake is the city of Carbondale's water resource. It's southwest of town. It's actually not within the city limits, but the city does own the entire lake, all of the water, and then the northern part of the land as well. And then like Philip said, the Forest Service owns and maintains the south end. And pretty much since it was built in the 70s, there's always been an agreement between the city and the Forest Service that it can be used as recreation, but we have to keep in mind that it's a water resource and that's the priority. But I guess last year, and I'm going to pass this map around because we don't have a full one. This shows the entire Cedar Lake. I know people like to look at maps. So the area in the red is the city, and the rest of it is the Forest Service. So last year, the city did a recreation survey and a recreation plan for the property around Cedar Lake, and we did some public input meetings, threw a lot of spaghetti at a wall, and basically like what most people came out of the whole process with was that it is a little bit of a trek to get down to Cedar Lake. I mean, it's pretty close to town, but it's not in town, so it's a little bit harder of a objective to push to people that we need to prioritize these trails and this infrastructure when it's not even in town. But there is a large amount of support for it. We applied for this grant, the RTP grant, to put in these trails about a year ago, and City Council approved that and let us apply for the grant. We got the grant. What you see up here, what's in red, these are basically just old access, like 2-track roads. They call them trails, but they're really not, they're not sustainably built or anything.
Can we use those right now?
Yeah, you can,
Cool.
and people do. And they're very fall line. So some of them are very steep up and down. But they do give you good access to some of these points up here on the north side. This is actually a very well kept secret down here. Can't tell you the road names off the top of my head, but this peninsula right here, this is all city property as well. It's like ripe for trails and camping. But we haven't gotten there yet, but that's part of the plan as well. But you can access this right now and go out there, and there's even a map at the city entrance down here.
Is that pretty open and navigable?
It is, yeah. There's like an open field, and then, you have these roads. You really can't get very lost. Also, the city already has signs at all of the entrances that has like a QR code for a map. I think you have to have the Avenza app, but
Poplar Camp.
it's South Poplar Camp Road. So if you've been to Poplar Camp Beach before, it's the same road, but it goes underwater basically, if that makes sense. Because Poplar Camp Beach is on North Poplar Camp Road, and this area is on the south.
So I take it that there's a gate and you've got a hike or bike beyond that.
There's no gate.
Oh, okay, so you can drive all
It's a little tricky because there is a sign that says no trespassing, but that sign refers to this area, this like red hatched area.
Which is private property.
Which is, it's private property, but you can go around that and access that.
The north point is Green Ridge Road, right? Is that the road it is?
Yeah, Green Ridge Road is up here.
So there's a little, it used to be grassy, but parking area, but I think they put some gravel there, didn't they, at some point? I can't remember. It's still fairly overgrown.
They gravelled it after the trade show, they got in there to take a lot of down trees out.
Yeah, but there's a little parking spot on Green Ridge, and it's accessible to all that stuff up on the north end.
Yeah, it's
Right on the south side of the road, across from a couple houses.
Also, the lake supervisor, Eric Stead, was not able to come tonight, but he did want me to pass along the information that these trails that we have already, the red lines, are open for biking. Even if you come across a sign that says no biking, they're trying to get all those signs up, but he did want me to pass along that information. Again, some of them are really like up and down, not your touch of nature mountain bike trails by a long shot, but it's still fun to get out there and ride a little bit. So yeah, we got the RTP grant. We are in the process of getting the archaeological survey completed. That is needed to be done before any construction can get started. The grant, we applied for it to cover 7 miles from the boat dock to like kind of going up counterclockwise all the way to Cove. We got the grant, but then they came back and said, well, you need to have part of it be ADA accessible as well. And we actually thought that was great. So we reassessed, and we're proposing that the first like 100 or 200 feet of the trail to come from the boat dock will be like ADA friendly, is what they term it as. So if you're familiar with Chautauqua bottoms, like the cut gravel, very flat, but people can go out there, wheelchairs, strollers, walkers, things like that. And so that could cut a bit into the mileage that we get, but we're hoping to get that construction started this summer. Yeah, I think that's all I got. Any questions?
Is there a plan to get around the spillway?
Not yet.
Mountain bikes would be right over it, right?
How deep is that creek?
Spillway?
Yeah.
It's a deep creek. There's a water.
I don't know, if Eric were here, he might be able to say more.
You're talking about where the river goes. I've never been. I always stop at the gate.
So are you talking about?
There's a west way on the west side.
Right here.
Here's the jam.
I was wondering if he's talking about
One's that supposed to be like
this is like this is
like there used to be a couple of
So it's like a whole like valley.
copy boring. Not with those lights on
Anyone have any questions for Molly about Cedar Lake? Molly or Phil? Go ahead.
Not so little. I think you kind of hit on this a little bit, but with the RTP grant, what is your is there money within there for long-term maintenance and kind of like follow-up, or is it just the initial investment of construction?
You can ride that one.
It's just the initial investment, yeah.
Okay, and what's kind of the long-term plan for like term maintenance and things like that sort of?
That's a good question.
I think the Forest Service is making some moves on having a trail crew. Like they already had tools, but they didn't have any people using those tools. And it sounds like recently they hired some people that will be their full-time jobs.
Yeah.
How do we, but in terms of, we said there's 400 miles of trail just within the
So
Shawnee.
the Forest Service is also totally cool with any of us or all of us doing work as SMBA.
Okay.
Like we are allowed to go work on trail. And I believe whether that's a sole individual or a big group of us, and whether we share any information with them or not, like, hey, we're going here today, do you want to have like somebody watch us, or like I'm just gonna go do tree work, right? I think all of that is totally fine.
That's more or less correct. The SMBA has a specific agreement in place for Glendale, Cedar, and Kincaid Lake that says the Forest Service acknowledges that
That we take care of.
We take care of those trails. And so we can, that's kind of a blanket stamp of approval to do any maintenance work. And then as far as chainsawing,
Certified.
They offer, every few years, the Forest Service offers a chainsaw certification course. It's a 2-day deal. If you don't have it, if you already have it and just need to renew it, it's a 1-day deal. Actually like a half a day. But I don't know how many of us here have it. I have a current card, but, so no chainsaw work, like legally with the Forest Service unless you have the certification card. But there's nothing against hand saws. Like there's some pretty awesome hand saws out there. You can get a saw to cut a 10-inch log in 30 seconds if you have the right saw.
buy, like, look up silky saws and buy whatever the biggest one that you can fit in your, if you carry a camelback, buy the biggest one that'll fit in your camelback. I don't like a camelback, but I wear a hip pack, and I can tell you that I can get a silky saw with an 8-inch blade, and I've cut 12-inch logs with it.
They're pretty amazing for not being a gas-powered saw.
And we also have tools at Simba too.
Yeah, Simba has kind of a little bank of trail tools. We have a bunch of like Rogue Hoe tools. They're known for trail building tools, so we have probably a dozen hand tools, or like fire rakes, hose, digging tools. So
we also have a backpack blower.
Yep, backpack blower for leaves. We kind of have a little arsenal of stuff we use to do trail work. So
the point would be in the future is that we're going to make that more accessible to the greater population.
Right.
If you have a project that you want to address now, get a hold of one of us and we can hook you up with tools. The other thing is that, the hours that you put in, Philip, you want to talk to that about a little bit, or?
So, besides just it's being good practice to just keep track of what everybody's doing, it also it is exceptionally useful to quantify the work that you're getting done when it comes to applying for grants and for where the Forest Service turns their attention. So on the Forest Service end of things, all of these projects end up in these agreements, and they're called cost share agreements. And it's getting into the weeds, but there is such thing as a non-funded cost share. I know it makes no sense, but basically it's a way for the Forest Service to keep track of all of the money and energy, that's going into the forest. And so, and for us to be able to quantify the volunteer work that's going in, we're not very good at it. We need to get way better about it. The equestrians are way better about it, because it's all retired people who, like, all they want to do is go ride their horse and cut up stuff and then,
and haul gravel.
Which I mean, I really like. There's a small number of super dedicated, hyper dedicated people, and I will help them work any day of the week. What we need to do better about is just, capturing the effort that we put in. We would rather go ride, and this is the kind of math that they use. If you go, the equestrians, like, and this makes sense, if you have a silky saw in your pack and you go for a ride at Cove Hollow and you cut up 3 trees, then your whole drive to Cove Hollow, plus your whole ride, plus your whole drive home, that's volunteer hours. And I know it sounds like whatever. It sounds like you're twisting, but it is work that, if the Forest Service had to do that work, somebody would drive from their house to Vienna, and then drive from Vienna to Cedar Lake. And then they would go hike in and cut up that same thing, and then they would do the whole thing in reverse. So it's not ridiculous for you to go for a ride, cut up a couple trees, and then count the whole thing as volunteer work, because if somebody was getting paid to do it, that's what they would do. So, and that's what we need to get better about capturing.
So with that being said, for now, until we get a better system. The email that you get after this meeting, on your email, you can reply, like, just send back to that. Any trail work you do, send to that email. And then we'll have a record of it in our email until we come up with a better system, which will probably be something like a Google Docs, but someone like Matt's probably gonna have to do that, cause I hate them.
So there's no form,
So
so to speak.
So we
you just
actually
gonna
do
say-
have a form like that we can fill out, but I would rather fill out one form instead of 300 forms for the year. So like if you just go out and do 4 hours of trail work on a Saturday, send an email to the email that we have, and we'll log it on our.
Or just sorted.
Yeah, we'll filter through them, and at the end of the year, we'll say we've done 3,200 hours of work or whatever. If you want to get really good with it, you can take pictures and send some of those pictures with it too. And then we can make posts like all the equestrians on Facebook and say how awesome we are. But all of us go out, we cut a bunch of trees, we fix a bunch of mud holes, and we throw our tools in the truck, and we grab our bikes, and we go ride it, and we're like, that's awesome, and then we go home, and we never say anything about it online. So that's where the horseback riders look a lot better than us on Facebook as far as, oh, we hauled in 17 tons of gravel today, or whatever, because they take time to post about it, and we just have fun.
We would just rather go riding.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mo, for years we were supposed to reply to the Forest Service hotline. Are we not doing that now? It never gets really recorded anywhere when you do that,
Yeah,
right?
so, not necessarily. So, if we report it as a whole of SMBA, I don't think, you're talking about like reporting your trail work or reporting that you're going
Yeah,
out
are we
for trail
supposed to report it to Forest Service?
There was a
hotline?
time that the Forest Service wanted me or us, when we went to do trail work, to call them before we went and say, I've got, Kay, Pat, and Philip, and we're going to do trail work at Cove Hollow. Here's our phone numbers, here's social security numbers, here's our first person to call if we get hurt.
Yeah,
And
I'm
that
not
was too
meaning
much,
that,
but
I'm
you're
just
just
meaning.
meaning after we're done.
No,
No, there was a hotline.
in reference to like, if you see a tree down on Kincaid,
Oh, yeah.
say, hey, Forest
Oh.
Service.
Yeah,
there's-
you can call
There's
in
3
if you
trees
don't
down,
wanna
here's
cut
the
it.
GPS
Yeah.
pins if you want them, but yeah.
They'll get right on it.
But
I
the
know
other
what you're saying, but
thing,
that was the idea, Matt. Is it like,
Yeah.
what's the turnaround time on that as compared to?
yeah, but the other problem with that is, like, if you go out and you call that into the Forest Service, but you also tell 3 of us, and we're like, crap, it's raining on Saturday, let's go hike and cut that tree instead of ride. We cut the tree, we don't call the Forest Service, they load up in Vienna, drive to Kincaid,
Yeah.
the tree's gone, and they've hiked 6 miles, and they didn't do anything. So it's kind of like, if you're gonna call it in, either make sure if someone else cuts it, you call them again and say that tree's gone. So, and they are responsive, they're not fast. They're generally not as fast as us at getting to a tree that's in the way on a trail we like to ride.
Some of us enjoy that.
Well, it's gonna be raining.
Yeah,
So say you had 3 people who were out for a ride and you did cut 2 trees, whatever.
If it's a 4-hour ride, 3 people, you got 12
36 hours.
So all 3 of you count your hours.
And if you
Yeah.
I mean, I know it seems fluffy. The thing is, the whole system is fluffy. And so if you're not playing the same game that the equestrians are, then we get underrepresented. So
Not sure if I
that's
can use this
just
video or not now.
that's the reality. Like
You're gonna have to edit.
the equestrian-
I'm not editing this. I don't have time. I'm gonna send it to Gabe and he can edit it.
Their equation, their methodology.
And the more
Private link only.
the whole volunteer hour thing, there's lots of problems with the system, but the reality is it is a way, and if you just drop all the numbers and everything, it's a way for them to track the energy that's going back into the forest, and that is important.
And that's like man hours and dollars that they can say.
Yeah, and they do actually assign a dollar amount to
Yeah, it's-
volunteer hours. So like, if the Forest Service puts, $100,000 into building a section of trail or to doing something, it's like on the cost share agreement, it's like they're gonna spend this and they expect us to do this much work to pay our share or whatever. And our share doesn't have to have any cash at all. It can be all man hours, but they do expect us to do something, so. And we really don't have a problem doing it. And the issue is if we get another 30 miles of trail that is
basically designated for bikes. We want to keep it as nice as possible. We want to show them that we do care about it. So we kind of need to grow our group.
I think there's kind of two things here. We need to have more designated volunteer organized things, but the bigger thing I think is we all do something when we go out there. Very rarely do you go to a mountain bike ride and you're not doing something, whether you charge your entire ride to it or not. At least start logging it, you know, and then at the end of the year, dump it and whatnot.
Yeah.
Let's start accounting for it in some way, and we will get better.
Yeah, and
I
will say I've worked with a number of volunteer organizations, and tracking volunteer hours is the hardest thing for everybody because it takes the more effort. Like say I like spent 4 hours one time, or probably like that. I spent some time putting together a really nice, beautiful Google form that was like, where were you at? Drop down menus, all this. And the reality is if it took more than 30 seconds for somebody to fill out, they weren't gonna ever. It was like I did the work. You're satisfied. You got your, you got the rush from like doing good, and then you're on to the rest of your life.
Yep.
So I really have found that the best way to do it is like if there's one person to text the person, or if there's an email. It doesn't have to be pretty. It doesn't even have to be sentences. Kincaid Lake, 4 hours. This was the date, and then it can be on Simba to put that into a spreadsheet.
Yeah.
Like
We can sort, that's relatively easy. Data mining in an email inbox, piece of cake.
Yeah. And so
even if you don't do it right away, could you like just make a note on your Strava or whatever you're
Just like if you want to
trees
send an email like once a quarter, even whatever. Like send us an email some point that says
any data is better than
I did 6 days of trail work in the last 2 months, and here's the dates, and here's how many hours. So,
right.
And here's where I was at.
Philip, if you could include, do touch too. Do touch and
Yeah, absolutely.
And I bring that because the university doesn't really quite understand the operational costs that go into maintaining it. And so that's a way for me to quantify, hey, this is how much money's going in there. Because we can, it's easier to get money to build the trails, because we talked about maintaining it is difficult. And if we ever get to a point where we need to justify, hey, I need a full-time position or whatever, that helps me to be like, we've got this many volunteer hours or person hours.
Yeah. So Brian, maybe that's a good transition. Would you like to talk about touch?
Oh, thanks, Touch. Hi, y'all. I'll keep this brief. My name is Brian. If I don't, I'm the director at Touch of Nature. A few things. And I'll send this out, and maybe you all can send it out. We actually partnered with the forestry department, and so if you're riding in Touch of Nature, you notice some cameras. We're not spying on you. Although, again, no naked riding. But the forestry department's really cool because they've been helping us track usage. So actually, Touch of Nature Trails saw over 10,000 users last year. And again, this kind of goes back to Philip's point, which is those data points are huge, whether it comes to requesting more funding, grant money, and things like that. So please help us track that data. But that was really, really exciting. Some other things just on the horizon. We are in the process of applying for the RTP grant as well. So the RTP grant, you've heard a lot, but Molly did a ton of work on that to help us and Philip through the construction to get us to the original 10 miles of trail. So we are putting forward for hopefully another 6 to 8 miles. So fingers crossed, we'll see how that goes. Other things that I wanted to talk to you about, we do volunteer days. If you go to Touch of Nature Trail, there's kind of 2 Facebook pages going, and we kind of have a love-hate relationship with that. The one trail allows you all to communicate, but that means that the official Touch of Nature Trail where we post the closures isn't getting it updated as often, and so feel free to you can nudge that trail, because then somebody gets a little angry on that, then I can nudge some of my people and say, hey, we really need to update those trails.
So we just text you?
What?
So we just text you?
Yes. Okay. Yeah. And then I'll point them on somebody else.
Alright.
Delegate. So the volunteer days are posted. We have two every month. We might address some of those in April because I know that they're going to coincide. I don't want to compete with the race and other things like that. So we might move around some of them in April. Another update, when the trails were initially built, this idea of how are we going to fund them? Because as we talked about, hey, it's really easy to build them, and how do we fund them? So originally it's we're going to charge user fees and pass fees, and
Anybody have a Touch of Nature parking pass that says 2021 on it? Yeah.
The old one,
Yeah.
that's the year.
Yeah, so, a few updates. No more parking passes, right? So don't go on in fact, I thought they were off our website, they're not, don't buy them. We had not printed them. In fact, at one point to save money, we were giving away the 2021 ones to be like, oh, you're still doing it.
So I still use it, but I cut off the 21.
Yes, so here's what I'm gonna ask of you, as if if you go there, just think about a donation. Think about, as opposed to us making this a pay-for-play kind of thing, again, much like we talked about, for mountain biking to sort of exist in Southern Illinois, we're all just gonna have to kind of contribute however we can, whether that's time, treasure, talent, or whatever. So please just consider that if you bring a friend. There is a little donation box. I think last year we brought in about $1,000 in donations from the box. So anything that you can do will help us, because again,
Is there another way to donate? Is there
yeah, so you can
PayPal?
go on our website, and there's actually the university's funding. There's a foundation account that is specifically for mountain biking. So the good news about donating to that account specifically is A, no one can take that money from me, which is awesome, and B, it has to be used for mountain bike related things. Now that could be staff to do this or whatever, but it's gonna go back to the trails. So that kind of brings me up to, you're gonna see, and I might even put up, SAU is doing a Day of Giving campaign in a couple weeks, and one of the funds that we're raising money for is our mountain biking fund. And so again, all of that money, 100% goes back into the trails, whether it's equipment, tools, personnel. That's how we pay our graduate assistant to kind of maintain the trails and things like that. So if you were able, please consider that day donating something, if possible.
And I will say that, I don't think there's any bike that exists in this shop that's cheap. So I'm not saying all of us have money, but we got enough to donate. Yep. To a little bit. He can't speak so frankly.
We literally said this about you. Somebody said today, Dad quote, I love Philip because he can say the things that we can't say.
I will also say to you, do you have a QR code that'll take us directly to that?
We're in the process of literally putting it up there in the trail map where it's like
You make it easy, they will come.
Because we just talked about if it's too hard, they'll bail.
Yes. So that's going on. The only other thing, just to give you an update, a lot of people have heard about the event center. The SAU Credit Union gave us some money just to calm everybody down. By event center, we mean nice pavilion with bathroom. So everyone just lower your expectations.
Is it better than porta potty?
But it will be, you'll be able to do your business in Flushing. 9 months out, you can turn the water off. So that is in the process. Like everything, it's taken us 3 years to almost build it. We have hopes to open it up in May at some point. When we do that, SAU Credit Union would like to do a big thing, and I would love for the mountain biking community to be there as part of it, because again, what we're really trying to do is build up that trailhead piece and like that front entrance, that community piece.
See the first event of the event.
Back to the volunteer side of it, what projects are you foreseeing knocking off the tree?
So there's a couple of, number one, our project is just maintaining the current trails. Because like anything, we sort of built these trails, and as we've all alluded to, it's like, hey, we got 10 miles of trail, and it's, oh crap, we have 10 miles of trail. So right now, as we're about 3 years into these new trails, we're starting to notice areas where we can work on drainage. So there's just the overall maintenance. Some of you have been a part of doing some rock work and some other things. How about some drainage? We're currently working on connecting Lakeside, basically the Lake Trail and the Rocky Comfort Trail around there, with the goal being eventually, and again, I very much appreciate you all respecting our trail closures, both for weather, but also, if you think about it, like we have school groups at Touch of Nature, and much like you're not supposed to walk into school or just walk around the hallways, like when we have schools out, we sort of have to tell the principals and administrators, like, nope, we are safe, we are keeping, the mountain bike hooligans out. And so thank you for doing that. But we're ideally working on some trails where maybe we don't have to close as much when we have programs and things like that. So that's kind of the overall plan. So, and as far as the RTP, most of the stuff, well, we really don't know what we're doing. There's going to be hopefully some proposals around the catalyst side, but then there might be some more work on the little grassy side. We're still kind of planning. Any questions or questions?
So in an effort to get more people into mountain biking, I know the student body at SIUC is lower than it has been in the past, but there's quite a few students there that would go ride if given the opportunity. Have you guys put any thought into possibly having a student day with maybe some rental bikes or?
Oh, sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's all. So in actuality, Touch of Nature, a lot of people don't know this, Touch of Nature receives like not a lot of money to operate.
I believe that.
In comparison. And so we're actually in the process of requesting what's called a student fee. And hopefully with that money, we can then put on some of those initiatives. Some other things we're working on, and this is where the SMBA piece helps. If you all legitimize as a 501c3, we're working on transportation for students. That's a big thing. You come to Carbondale, hey, great, there's all these awesome outdoor opportunities, but if you can't get from campus to Touch of Nature, it doesn't matter how great the trails are. And so we're currently trying to convince campus that some sort of public transportation, to one campus and then to another makes sense. But if we can get support from organizations like you all, that only helps us.
Is there an RSO?
Yeah. And then what happens is if there's an accident, the officers in the club are actually the ones liable, and they don't realize that until there's an accident.
Yeah.
So during my time at Indiana University, the caving club lost a kid in a cave for 3 days.
Oh, jeez.
That's a fun story over the years.
Just beer, yeah. So while we're talking about SIU, Kay is from Automotive Tech at SIU. She works out there. They have a program that's recycle your bicycle, where I think you can donate a bicycle, even if it doesn't work, since they're mechanics, they will fix it and donate to a kid, right?
Okay, well.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Where I'm going with this is these guys have helped, Garrick has brought out students to help with. The automotive students, I don't have a big group. Some have graduated and stuff like that. I need people to help me. I've got a ton of bikes that need to be gone through. Even so much as just tear them apart and save pieces, parts. He's done this before in the past.
In Bloomington at the bike co-op, where it's just like, you take donor bikes, if the frames are good, but you need to fix components, you need to have a stockpile of components, but if the frames are garbage and the components are great, you scrap the frames and save the components. So last
bike parts in my
spring semester, we took kids out there and it was really just weeding through donor bikes from either police station, the city police station, or the campus police station. So when your bike goes missing on campus, it's probably out of recycled bicycle. If you didn't register your bike and they drop your lock, it's probably sitting out there. But we spent a lot of time just tearing bikes apart and stockpiling parts. So
and where do bikes go?
After they're done.
Allegedly. So the bikes, we have I would say I probably have, 80 bikes probably.
Yeah. Let's talk about the ones that we finished last fall.
So we donated, I think about 10 last year. I've got 6 sitting there, and I've got about a dozen people wanting bikes now. And I try and do first come, first serve. But, if I have all big bikes and it's a tiny person, there's a lot of, and if you're not gonna follow the rules and give me all of your information, do you need a road bike? Do you need a mountain bike? They've gotta be able to reply to me so I know what they need and stuff like that too. But basically, if you wanna get rid of a bike, I am happy to take them. I really need help. If anyone's willing to come work on one evening, I think we're kind of still leaning towards Tuesday evenings to do it. I don't know if anyone's ever been to the Transportation Education Center in Murfreesboro. It's a nice facility.
Right by the airport. Huh? Right by the airport.
Yeah, it's a nice facility. Anyway, I just wanted to mention, so then we have talked with Touch of Nature at some point off and on about possibly, I have, the guys can attest, I kind of hoard any really nice mountain bikes to be able to, I try and encourage mountain biking within the students that help. So I have some bikes set aside that we lend to students to come out and ride at Touch and stuff like that.
So how do you help? How do you get a hold of you to help?
Ktries@sou.edu.
Ktries.
We'll send that out. So we'll send out an email to everybody. Some of the high points that we discussed.
Is also looking for a new home, which is in the basement.
Yeah, they pretty much had just a little closet.
Well, they've been trying to pawn some of these folks off on Touch of Nature, and without like a ton of kids that I need more resources. But maybe between Sleepy folks, us, and you all, we could kind of.
It was basically a toolbox with yeah.
So they're trying to find a home for it. We've even talked about repurposing maybe a place in the rec center.
Well, what's gonna happen is if I have a gazillion bikes and not moving them and not repairing them, I'm gonna get booted out of that area.
Well, let's you and I keep chatting, because they're on me and I need some help too.
He's guarding it.
That resource at all.
But it's one of those things where it's necessarily a thing where it's like, we've always had it, so we can't get rid of it, but we're not gonna necessarily.
Green fund grant in there.
To be funded.
You're gonna have to step in.
But obviously, it's sustainability.
And you bring up the Lakeshore Trail, there's a sign on that that says it's closed on the weekdays.
That should be.
Is that common?
Yeah, so the reason that particular trail is closed is we actually have a camp that comes in and rents the entire, and we're open. And so like that's what's happening. So that's, for now, it's open. It'll just be during, and that's something else we're working on, is sort of a communication system of like, hey, we got a large group in, so as opposed to closing all the Touch of Nature trails, we're trying to get better about, hey, these ones are closed, but these ones are open. But like everything else too, if you're riding, I would rather err on the side of let's keep the trails open, but if you notice that there's spots, just be mindful. And if we can all do that, then we don't have to be as strict with the overall closures.
Very good. Questions, comments? All right.
This guy. He's up.
I'm up.
I'm calling it. You want to talk, don't you?
Yeah, but I didn't know what the agenda was.
Got anything else?
You're on it.
Go ahead.
So I'm Matt. This is Matt. This is Matt, and there's Matt over there too. So any more Matts in the house? Cool. My name is Matt Smith. I was sent over here representing one female mountain bike team to the Midwest Trail Builders Coalition over in Cape Girardeau, Cycle Works, Cape Bicycle, just the southeast Missouri area. Familiar with a lot of you guys out here. You guys have come over and graced us at our races, things like that. Kate's been to a couple of races. Matt's been to our race. Just a couple of things. My ultimate goal is I'm the team director of the NICA team, and all I want to do is get kids on bikes. I've met with Garrett. I've met with Jeremy. I've talked to Matt about it. And we have kids. We have a kid in Carterville that drives to Cape and is on our team. Okay, so we have that opportunity. I'm going to leave some flyers here with the guys, or if you want to take one to your school and post it up, or your business or something like that, please do. Then give me a call and we'll figure out how to get those kids on the team. If they want to race, they can race. The nice thing about NICA is you don't have to race. We can still go bike packing, we can still go trail riding, we can learn how to ride bikes, we can go camping. They don't have to race, because that's what everybody asks me. Is it just a race team? No, it's kids on bikes. We had 20 kids this year, 19 coaches, 17 were parents. So now I've got kids and parents involved, and now I've got a generation I'm growing now that will have bike riders forever over here. So just a couple of things. Don't forget about what the Cycle Works asked me to advertise the bike packing trip that you guys have coordinated together, February 17th. They're riding to the somewhere, your place, and camping. I hope we get to go.
Anybody who's down to go from this shop, we're talking about just going and joining them from Cycle Works and all riding in one group. If everybody's down to do that, that's what I want to do.
Biggest thing you can do is follow on Facebook 573 Cycling. That's kind of our page where the whole group gets together and talks about the trip. Tons of information on there about the trip. We'll leave Cape, we'll ride to the Boulders, and then I think there's another group riding down to there. We do have a race. We're the only team in the country that has a race as the kids run, and it's their fundraiser for the team. So June 30th, it'll be at Crazy Klaus Park. Kate loves that trail. She rode it for 3 hours last year. How many laps you get in? 17, 18?
The last 17 or 18.
Yeah. Matt was there last year.
I puked on lap 3.
There you go. So it's a great race. It's a good time. It should be this year the Missouri State Single Speed Championship, because that trail is built by single speeders, and we absolutely love it. But the kids will be out there.
Oh, I was the Shawnee national champ.
There you go. You could be a 2-state champion. November 5th. There you go.
Way too fast there. Yeah.
So I helped the city of Perryville, which is directly across the bridge in Chester, write an RTP grant 2 years ago. Right now we've got $250,000 trail going in Perryville. The flow line, the jump lines. Flow lines. I can't say jumps, but there's jumps. We have 3 jump lines. They're done. We're going to clean them up today. And then they're finishing with the 5-mile NICA course. Should be done in July. So there's an opportunity for you guys to come over. We'll have some races, but it gives you a top opportunity to cross that bridge and come over there. November 5th, the same town, Perryville, is having a gravel race called the Holy Roller. It's our 3rd year having it, so that's a super fun race.
What was that date?
November 5th.
Okay.
Yep.
So it's a fall race. Got it.
It's fall race, super smooth, awesome rural gravel. Trying to think what else. Don't forget about Shepherd Mountain, 573 Cycling or CycleWorks. I know a lot of you don't know about the UFD series, but in St. Louis there's an actual race series with 5 to 6 races. We're on that series, so you get points. But don't forget about the UFD series. Look that up on the internet. There's some great races. Our closest one will be Klaus, and then there's one about 50 minutes away in St. Joe. That's going to be a brand new trail on a state park. Be an 8-mile loop. And then,
New trail in St. Joe?
yeah, they kicked us off because we went to, and we destroyed some flower or something. So it's using a little bit. It's called the Galena Trail now. But then in March, I think March 3rd or the 10th, we'll have the last minor riding, which is the Team Noah race, and that's a loop till you die. You got to keep going. Okay, the last person to ride wins, and then we start taking time off as we get later in the night. So that'll be a lot of fun. But if you guys have any kids that are interested in mountain biking or anything like that, please give me a contact. I'll leave these flyers there. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I forgot. I appreciate you guys being here. We use you guys a lot. We're at Touch of Nature constantly with our kids training. Our kids come to your races, and we love your kids to come to our races because that's all we're about is kids racing. If you're interested in coaching, come on over, come talk to me. Any questions about mountain biking in Missouri? Yes, sir.
The trails in Perryville, how are they like similar to Crossroads?
You didn't hear this from me, but I had 2 IMBA guys come and 2 guys come from Colorado and said they're better than Crossroads. The gap, they're better design. I don't want to offend my buddies in Crossroads.
They're pretty good. I drive down there.
They're just not long. You know, nothing's long. Crossroads are short. But I do the NICA trail. We just finished a 1-mile downhill loop. It's all 1 mile nonstop. So that's big for our area around here. But they are being built by a professional trail building company out of Indiana.
What's the
Trail Crew. They're new. They're kind of new. They've been building a lot in Indiana.
Did they do Griffin Bike Park?
They have done a lot of Griffin Bike Park.
All right, that's good.
Yeah,
that's a good spot.
So they're really I'd never heard of them until they got the grant. I'm like, oh crud, they got the lowest bidder, but super good guys, and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
And so they're only 3 hours away from Perryville. So if you guys are looking for a trail building company, contract wise, they're pretty affordable when it comes to grants and stuff like that.
You said the Perryville trails were funded by the city, or like
the
that
city
project?
wrote I helped the city write an RTP grant. They got $250
So is
grand.
it just like in downtown Perry, like in town?
So the Perryville Heritage Tourism Board wrote it, but the lake is right in town. It's called Legion Lake.
How many miles?
So it'll be 5 miles when we're done. Yep. So it'll be a NICA approved course. We're trying to get NICA down there. We're tired of driving to Springfield, and Warsaw, and St. Joe, and all these towns. So we'll have one close to Missouri. So yeah, just follow 573. If there's anything I can do to help get more kids on bikes, or you have questions, or your schools, or whatever, just give me a call.
Excellent.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
We've only got a few more things to kind of go over and throw out there, but just to jump through it, if you guys hang out for another few minutes.
talk about volunteer opportunities. Want to bring up the Dirty South Bay is March 2nd. If you're not racing in it, you want to volunteer, go sit on a corner, throw out t-shirts, help with registration. Lots of ways to help. Reach out to myself or Gabriel here at the shop, or Mo if you got his number, whatever. But don't need a ton of people, but if you're open and willing, want to sit on, go out and watch, but not ride or race, let us know. Touch of Nature workdays, I think we kind of chatted about that already.
Yeah.
April 13th at Glendale, you want to chat about that, Matt?
Well, there'll be a work day on April 13th at Glendale prior to the race that somebody will talk about on the 27th. If you guys haven't been there, Glendale's always in great shape. There's a pretty solid crew of guys that ride it frequently and do a lot of the maintenance. It drains faster than anything else around here. It's great soil composition. Trails are totally sustainable.
When Touch is closed, go to Glendale.
Yeah. If it's too wet to ride at Touch, Glendale's probably perfect too. But be a work day on the 13th on there. Which
where will you be meeting and what time?
It will be at. Just trick me into doing this.
Okay. Well, we can throw it out.
It'll be.
Is Duck Bay? I mean, that'll probably be the closest.
They will let you in.
Or the boat ramp. It'll be either the boat ramp or Duck Bay.
Probably boat ramp unless we get heads up that there's 30 people coming. Then we might go over to the pool lot. And,
sorry.
No, it's okay. Probably 9-ish. 9 too. Be a great opportunity if you haven't ridden out there to come out there with a few people that know the trails very well and get some guidance on that.
And most trail days, if you want to throw your bike in your truck or on your car or on your rack, throw it on, bring it with you, and there's a pretty good chance if the trail work doesn't last all day, people are going to ride afterwards.
And I don't, on the plans, I don't think there's anything specific. It'll probably just be, clearing debris off the trail and things like that.
Mud holes on Lower Bluff, possibly.
Yeah.
Some drainage stuff.
A little bit of drainage stuff, moving a couple of rocks. No big deal. So there probably will be some time. There will be some time to ride, for sure.
Well, you basically, if you're working on the trail system at all, off of the lake loop, you basically have to have a bike to get there.
Yeah, like that, or really enjoy hiking uphill fast. Yeah. It is pretty steep and rocky, but it's beautiful too. So, while I'm on the stage, so Philip touched on the Glendale Trail Designation Project, and he actually, can you pause that? Philip and Sean Moore were awarded these illustrious awards.
He also, there's 3 of them.
Yeah, he got one too.
For the Trail Designation Project from Glendale. Very pinnacle. It is really the first time where the Forest Service recognized us and what we do.
Until then, mountain biking was just we know you're out there.
Yeah.
Thanks for all the trail work. We're not going to kick you off because we know you're there, but on our website it says you can't ride.
So the pause on that, where these were actually awarded to us in 2021, and it's 2024.
Okay.
See the humor in it now?
It took him a minute to get it to us.
I really don't understand.
So, Philip, congratulations.
Way to go! Oh, I just got it.
Break it.
It broke?
Oh, you switching them? And Sean Moore, congratulations.
I guess I'd like to present Matt.
Here, you go there.
How does this work?
Yeah, there you Sean, getting over it.
It's hot
latex.
Got a real Michael
Because I'm
Jackson.
allergic
Well, that
to
could be even
latex.
more fun.
Alright.
Hey, Matt.
If you guys really like these,
Pause it for a second.
one of them might be.
If I'm a member of the club, I do a lot of trail maintenance on logging roads up behind my house where I hike.
Yeah.
Can the club get any credit for those? They're not mountain bike trails, they're just old logging roads.
Is it
But
in
I'm
the
out there
Shawnee
moving
National
logs
Forest?
and trimming and,
Yeah, if it's in the Shawnee National Forest.
oh,
then yes.
absolutely, yeah, yeah.
We'll take it.
It's
Yeah.
Fairview
Fluffy.
Church, you know where Fairview Church is at, just north of Little Grand Canyon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, back behind there.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So So the
Well, I
it
hunt
is-
every day.
The
with my
Forest
dog,
Service is,
so-
you know, they've shown their commitment at Kincaid and Cedar Lakes, but you know, now that we have their ear, you know, it's not the only places for opportunities, and so like I think at this point. There's absolutely no promises, and it's totally funding dependent. But for the first time, the first time I've ever worked with the Forest Service, they now have, you know, for the first time, yeah, basically, since 10 years or more, they have a fully staffed trail team in the Shawnee as of like, you know, last month. That said, you know, they are looking forward, and they have expressed interest in having, you know, it's all funding dependent, and you never know when it's going to come, especially with the federal government. But they have expressed interest in like having projects on the shelf ready to go, because a lot of times when this funding comes through, they have to apply for it quickly. So it is helpful for us to know, you know, what the community wants, you know, outside of these areas that the Forest Service wants to focus on. That way, you know, we can start putting the bug in their ear and start talking about, you know, like what everybody else wants to see in the Shawnee. So I think, does anybody have any ideas or?
Well, that's kind of the last bullet point we've got on here is talk about more about east side stuff. A lot of the funding and planning and whatnot is taking place really on the west side. But to Philip's point about having projects on the shelf is we need some input, ideas, places that you want to see, you know, east of Interstate 57. So eventually I kind of see kind of a working group and that kind of stuff, or a small group of people that really know the trails well to start taking the lead on that and getting some ideas and putting that together. So we have things that we can pull down and start executing when funds or time or whatever becomes
Do you have
available.
any inclination? Is it new areas or is it reclaiming old areas that
Well-
Forest Service wants?
I will say this. The reason that they started with the west side is because they know that there is less of a chance for user conflict between mountain bikes and horses. And so they also don't want to build new trail in order to have it messed up right away.
Like the chances of designating a mountain bike trail right by Bay Creek Horse Ranch or High Knob Horse Ranch are pretty slim. But somewhere in the middle,
yeah,
pretty good chance.
Does Camp Ondas not work with us very much? I mean, that's like a good center point. Like,
They
work with them
you
to
can
get
get
into the Shawnee.
Yeah,
easy from
they're
there.
very bike
Trails.
friendly.
Yeah.
Onasunk is very bike friendly, and like they have their section of acreage, but it's very large, but in comparison to the Shawnee, it's not that.
Trails close by to there.
Right, the Shawnee is within like probably a 2 mile ride or a 1.5 mile ride of their lodge, so, that would be a good base point too.
And if that's a project that you want to explore, Luke, you know, let's put it on the list and we can start working with the other shop. They have very close ties on the side. The other shop's done.
I knew like there's bike races and things there, so
Yeah,
I will.
but the other shop has done most of the trail building down there. So the shop out of them found it. So some of it's for Tire Fest, but they also have personal involvement in the camp itself. So.
Right.
Has anybody here ever ridden in Jackson Falls?
Yes.
Not the illegal section though.
Is there one?
Yes, right on top of the ridge is foot traffic. That's like.
Push my bike around Jackson Falls.
I think right on top of there's a section up there that's wilderness.
Carson Beckett ride Jackson Falls.
Well, Jackson Hollow also is our natural area.
So the top trail at Jackson Falls is hiker only. Is that what you're?
It's green.
It's very it'd be very technical.
It's crazy tech.
I mean, that's what we love.
Carrying your bike up the dog walk's hard.
Yeah.
But you can do it. But you can ride, I've ridden it from the west side, like ridden it from Ondasant to Jackson Falls, from that direction.
I thought you were gonna.
Or from Trigg Road.
Giant City.
Well, Red Cedar's next, and then like I really want the river to river trail to be like as much trail. I bet if we talked to Camp Ondasant, they'd be like, you know, yes, use this trail. And I think the river to river has the opportunity to just get better and better as we build more trails.
I will say that I feel like that, like, not to get into the bikes and wilderness discussion, because that's a hot topic or can be controversial, but I think if you look at the goal of the river to river trail, it is basically to connect all the cool spots in Southern Illinois and put it all on one trail, and I think it mostly does that. I think the goal of in my opinion, there's a lot of road on the river to river trail, and there's a lot of opportunities to have more trail. Like a lot of those road sections are next to Shawnee. You could have a trail. I feel like there should be some, and then Aaron Arnzen, he's kind of got a gravelly version, but
yeah.
The problem with bikes on the river to river is that there are a number of wilderness areas that you cannot get around. And bikes are, if you're not familiar, bikes are not permitted in wilderness areas. And that is a federal rule that is not going to change likely. But yeah, I am in full favor of like making as much of the river to river available.
And there's sections of it that are currently really, really fun to ride, and there's sections of it that you're pushing your bike, the 3 mile section.
And then like I don't think Red Cedar is wilderness.
No.
And it's just like
Red Cedar,
Giant City.
yeah, that's a state park thing, and that's another thing that, Giant City, I feel like is a huge opportunity. It is a state park. I worked with the climbing organization, and we worked with Giant City and found them. They are in between superintendents right now, and the way that state parks work, the past superintendent, they're kind of the kings of their own castle. They kind of get to do whatever they want. If they're on your side, then things can go really fast and really good. And if they're not, so we're kind of in this in-between area of we don't know who the next superintendent is. I see Touch of Nature, the last superintendent, the benefit we have at Giant City is the last superintendent is now Calvin Beckman is now the director of parks for IDNR for the whole state. So he is basically the boss of all the parks.
And he's pro bike.
And he's pro bike, he's pro recreation, he's pro people doing stuff for the betterment of, he's awesome. And Brian has a good relationship with him, Touch of Nature has a good relationship with him. Their property touches Giant City, and I think that there could be huge potential in the future.
I mean, our trail system, when it was designed with connector trails to Giant City in mind, so.
And when you say it's a state park, is there like no riding in any state park in Illinois?
No riding on that.
There's another good thing is there's some relatively local precedents being set, because part of the Glendale Trail designation projects is part of that is Dixon Springs State Park.
Yeah.
And then I think Pierre Marquette just put some trails too, so.
And depending, I think the Fern Cliff State Park, they had a person, I don't know if it's still the same person, but they were pro bike too. They were trying to figure out where they could do bike trails at Fern Cliff.
And speaking of like the Giant City, that Red Cedar thing was, originally that was very horses, but they made the decision because they're, like everyone, they're short staffed. So I think also if we all continue to do the good work and show like, hey, not only do we build, but we take care, I think you'll see like places like Giant City will be like, okay, yeah, mountain bikers take care of this stuff, like.
You know, like Shelter 2, Trillium, those are all too short, and then Red Cedar is barely getting touched.
And so for them, it's more of a maintenance issue. I think it's more them being afraid of like, well, if users use it, we don't have the people power to maintain it.
And I think it's a little bit of the chicken and an egg thing. I mean, the Red Cedar Trail touches a lot of great places, but it is not a well constructed, or it's not a great trail. I mean, just experience like what you see is great, but the trail itself. So it's like, is this not worth putting energy into because people don't use it, or do people not use it because it's not a great trail?
It gets used, it gets run. I mean, I have a lot of friends that run it.
Yeah, but in the middle of summer, it's not passable.
Because it grows over.
I still know.
And then with it
friends
being
that run
Well, no, I know, but I'm just saying, like.
It gets thick.
And with it being that long, it's valuable to us, just like the climbers. Like, we want the long stuff, right? So it's like, it's a gold mine. It's just sitting there.
Yeah,
And
I think
nobody's using it
like
except
that's
for some
where
runners.
Giant City is scared to say like, yes, use it, because then they feel like they're going to have to maintain it, where if we can grow the number of mountain bikers in the area, I mean, it's not like we're gonna assign spots, but, you know, the people that ride and live near the Red Cedar Trail could kind of help us take care of it, and help Giant City take care of it, so the burden's not on them. They can help get it open, and then we help maintain it. Which I think the Forest Service saw that, like, it took however many years, but we did a lot of trail work on all of the trails. And then we started focusing on the ones that got the least amount of damage from equestrians. And once they saw that, like, hey, these trails are like really nice, then the mountain bikers will take care of it. And that's kind of where they focused, like in Glendale or stuff like that. They focused on the stuff that we kept nice, that they saw the mountain bikers could keep it nice. But you got anything else?
No. Yeah, I'll just mention the trails up by Red Lake. There's like 5 miles. It'd be a great place to take somebody who just want to introduce to riding a bike on dirt, but maybe they don't want to climb big hills, or they're at North Markham. There's about 5 miles there that I kind of try to maintain, but you can follow them now, and they're nice for, not really very technical. There's no climbing, there's no rocks, but it is a trail, and if you know somebody in that northern division, it's not Shawnee, but spread the word that they're there, and more people use them, they'll get better. But that's at Wren Lake at North Markham and Wren Lake Bike Club, which Pat brought his daughter there, I think, and you sort of found your way around, and that was before I went out and did a whole lot of marking and stuff. So
it's good.
Are the trails on Strava or Trailforks?
They're on Mountain Bike Trail Forks, Mountain Bike Project, and everything. And it's an old campground, so it's very flat. A lot of horrible autumn olive trees that I've chopped down 1 million of them. And if you're looking for a cheap trail saw, the Silky is nice, but there's something on Amazon that's like $13. It's basically the same thing.
No, it's not.
It is. I've used them both. Itchy Band Samurai. And if you break that thing, that's $13. You just get 2 or 3.
Is there a nice video of you comparing them?
I use Drew Blair's Silky, and I tell you what, it's the same thing.
What about the pocket chainsaw?
Throw that thing away. The pocket chainsaw will go through about 1 inch of log and then stops. But the Ichiban Samurai, you put both arms on that thing and you can saw through a 10-inch log.
Alright. Anything else?
I just wanted to say thank you. I'm brand new to all this in the last year. Everybody's been friendly, helpful, what bike to ride, where, and all that kind of stuff, and get into this. So I just want to say thank you, but also pay back, because the more I get to ride, I want to go help build the trails, maintain the trails, and then we go bring other people. So I'm on the list, so if you need a hand on a volunteer day, I'll be glad to be there.
Thanks, Shane.
Yep. Yeah, and that's what mountain biking is good for. Everybody's friendly, it's welcoming to everyone, and it's easy to get hooked. So, I mean, it didn't take much, you're hooked, so.
And then he hooked me.
And now you're hooked. Yeah, so, yep, dominoes.
I think we had good representation from all corners of the state. That's awesome. You guys from Harrisburg and got some west side folks, Benton, north side. So.
Golson's the east side, transplanted to Benton.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess this, if we're kind of past talking about trails, like what are the next steps or kind of for the organization of SMBA?
So big picture, we kind of skipped over. 501c filing is going in this week. I think we got the last piece of info this week to him. We've already had the LSC set up. We've been some things going on in the background. Either way, 501c will be, and I don't know how long that takes once it goes in, but either way, that's still doable, right?
Yeah.
And then we'll start the more formal process, trying to do membership drives and that kind of thing.
Yeah.
That's part of the reason we're taking numbers, names, numbers, that kind of thing. Big picture, we don't want any money until we have all of that. There's been kind of a low fairy putting some money in the pot every year, so.
Yeah, and one of
We
the
have
things-
some money,
yeah.
that money's not the hit, it's the human horsepower. That's what we really
Yeah.
want, and start establishing the base for that now.
And I mean, like, for myself, I'm a little bit scared to grow it too big because I don't have to manage it all, so it's like, we
There's
need
gonna
enough
be a-
people that we have enough, like, we have enough people that are like willing to take charge of like a little section and say, okay, you know, we've got like 10 people that live over on this corner and we're gonna take care of the trails and we're gonna kind of, you know, we'll let you know if there's anything big we need help with, we need a big trail day or whatever, but like, we got this area.
And
then,
more
like,
organizational too,
yeah.
there's more of the background business side of things that
Mhm.
needs to have some people assigned to.
Yeah.
We have some right now, but just like everybody, we're all professionals in something else. And we're gonna need help and horsepower there. And we all have different expertises and things that we contribute. It's not just running a chainsaw, it could be taking care of QuickBooks, you know, that kind of thing. So,
Yeah, so-
that will be forthcoming, but let us get the business side of things taken care of in the background and we'll go from there.
Yeah, and
That's a good question, but that's kind of where we're going.
And like in the meantime, if anybody is interested in doing trail work, please reach out, because we can operate, you know, under our agreement with the Forest Service to do that. And, you know, I have